Hello and welcome everyone to Merrion Square Park for the 2022 Dublin Literary Award winner announcement, proudly sponsored by Dublin City Council. And a special welcome to the Chief Executive of Dublin City Council, councillors, and the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Alison Gilliland, who is joining us virtually this afternoon. After 2 years of online ceremonies, I'm delighted to welcome you in person and virtually to celebrate the 27th Dublin Literary Award at the International Literature Festival Dublin, being held for the first time here in the lovely, lush surroundings of Merrion Square Park. In a few minutes, we will hear from Dublin City Librarian Marae Owens, and then the Lord Mayor, Alison Gilliland, who will reveal this year's winner. The winner will then be presented with their prize from Dublin City Council's Assistant Chief Executive, Richard Shakespeare, and Dublin City Librarian, Marae Owens. But before we start, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on why literature is so significant to Dublin and why this is a UNESCO City of Literature. Evan Boland, beloved Dublin poet, illustrated the influence of the city in her poem, Anna Liffey, performed here by Dublin actress Mary Murray.
I praise the gifts of the river, its shiftless and glittering retelling of a city, its clarity as it flows, in the company of runt flowers and herons around a bend at Island Bridge, and under 13 bridges to the sea, its patience at twilight, swans nesting by it, neon wincing into it, maker of places, remembrances, narrate such fragments for me. One body, one spirit, one place, one name, the city where I was born, the river that runs through it, the nation which eludes me, fractions of a life it has taken me a lifetime to claim. A river is not a woman, although the names it finds, the history it makes and suffers, the Viking blades beside it, the muskets of the redcoats, the flames of the forecourts blazing into it, are a sign. Any more than a woman is a river, although the course it takes through swans courting and distraught willows, its patience, which is also its powerlessness, from Callery to Island Bridge, and from source to mouth, is another one. In the end, it will not matter that I was a woman. I am sure of it. The body is a source, nothing more. There is a time for it. There is a certainty about the way it seeks its own dissolution. Consider rivers. They are always en route to their own nothingness, from the first moment they are going home. And so, when language cannot do it for us, cannot make us know love will not diminish us, there are these phrases of the ocean to console us, particular and unafraid of their completion. In the end, everything that burdened and distinguished me will be lost in this. I was a voice.
That was stunning. What a Sense of Dublin City by legendary Evan Boland. And now, please join me in welcoming to the stage Dublin City Librarian, Marae Owens.
I was going to say welcome on this beautiful afternoon, but I think it's a case of between the showers, folks. Look, on behalf of Dublin City Council, I wish to extend a big warm welcome to you all on this lovely afternoon. It is heartening to be here in front of a live audience again on this very special occasion to celebrate the 2022 Dublin Literary Award in our native city. After 2 years of having to present the award in London and New York, it is wonderful to be back in Dublin and in Merrion Square, one of our city's favourite parks across the road from where Oscar Wilde lived. As you may know, Dublin was designated a UNESCO City of Literature in 2010, and the Dublin Literary Award is the jewel in the crown with its vast international network of writers, translators, libraries and publishers. Uniquely among library prizes, or literary prizes I should say, books are nominated by libraries from all over the world. There is no commercial input from publishers, booksellers or agents. It is also special in that no title is excluded because of geographical boundaries, author nationality or country of publication. Because of this very open process, books are brought to our attention and to the attention of the wider world, which might otherwise remain national. The Dublin Literary Award is truly international in spirit and promotes our city on the worldwide literary stage. In this, the centenary of Ulysses, a book that keeps giving, as it breathes life into our city, it is fitting to include a quote from Joyce. For myself, I always write about Dublin, because if I can get to the heart of Dublin, I can get to the heart of all the cities of the world. This year, the 79 books on the long list were nominated by 94 libraries from 40 countries across Africa, Europe, Asia, the US, Canada, South America, Australia and New Zealand. 30 novels were in translation and 16 were debut novels. Over the past few months, readers in Dublin and around Ireland have been borrowing these titles from their local libraries and engaging with books, some of which are well known, but many titles are unfamiliar. And that's what is special about the award and about libraries. We're bringing world literature to readers wherever they may be. Dublin is also the catalyst in unifying the 40 countries through the literary thread. I too have enjoyed the shortlist, books with themes of loss, identity, war and diversity from a global group of Nigerian, French, Irish, Canadian and New Zealand writers. As a reader, I find that the Literary Award challenges my boundaries and stretches the imagination. It's not too late to discover these books for yourself, and our libraries are open and staff are waiting to welcome you. Many of the titles are also available as e-books, and of course local bookshops across the country promote the winning list. Ireland said goodbye to Thomas Kinsella, poet from Inchicore and freeman of Dublin City in December 2021. When asked by Dennis O'Driscoll in an interview in 1989, was there anything in his background that could explain his emergence as a poet, Kinsella replied, "The nature of my background had nothing to do with my interest in poetry. My background was certainly underprivileged, with an education in the local school, then with the Christian Brothers. The local library was where I educated myself in a sense, but I wouldn't have read Yeats left to myself, and Joyce was an early excitement." Every year we take great care choosing the international panel of judges, and I wish to thank sincerely this year's panel, chaired as expertly by Professor Chris Marae. A special thank you to Chris, who I think it's fair to say has taken diplomacy to a different level, has the patience of a saint, and has championed the Literary Award at every available opportunity. But also a big thank you to Professor Emmanuel Dandora, who unfortunately isn't here with us today, Sinead Moriarty, Cleana Ní Riordáin, Alvin Pang, and Victoria White, who had a challenging yet interesting task of selecting the winner. Finally, I wish to acknowledge the support of the many partners who helped to bring this award to fruition. Our partners at ILF Dublin, and in particular Martin Colthorpe and Amay Van Wylik and their teams, our generous hosts here today, Dublin City Council Parks, libraries all over the world, bookshops, publishers, embassies, and of course the Dublin City Council Library team. I'm extremely proud of their commitment to the Dublin Literary Award. Thank you very much.
This year, our international judging panel selected 6 exemplary novels for the shortlist. Before we hear the final verdict from the Lord Mayor of Dublin, let us remind ourselves of those 6 titles. Remote Sympathy by Catherine Chijke. At Night, All Blood is Black by David Diop, translated from the French by Anna Moshkavaskis. The Death of Vivek Oji, Akweke Emezi. The Art of Losing, Alice Zeniter, translated from the French by Frank Wynne. The Art of Falling by Danielle McLaughlin. Nupim Ming, The Cure for White Ladies, Liana Batsamoske Simpson. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Without further ado, please help me welcome patron of the award, Lord Mayor of Dublin, Alison Gilliland, for the reveal of this year's winner.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the highlights of the Lord Mayor's role each year is to announce the winners of the Dublin Literary Award. As you have seen, it's a huge challenge to select the winning title, and I commend the judges who have invested time, energy and consideration in this process. So now, I am very pleased to reveal to you that this year's winner is The Art of Losing by Alice Zeniter, translated by Frank Wynne. May I offer my heartfelt congratulations to Alice and Frank on being the 27th Dublin Literary Award winners.
Zeniter and Frank Wynne on their exceptional book, The Art of Losing, published in 2021 by Picador Pan Macmillan. Please join me in welcoming Alice and Frank with a well-deserved round of applause. Alice Zeniter has just been presented with a check of €75,000, and Frank Wynne has been presented with a check of €25,000 by Richard Shakespeare, Assistant Chief Executive of Dublin City Council. Frank Wynne is the only translated to have received this award twice, having won the award in 2002. Please help me welcome Alice and Frank to say a few words.
I would like to thank the Lord Mayor and Patron of the award, Alison Gilliland, Owen Keegan, Chief Executive of Dublin City Council and Dublin City Council sponsorship of the Dublin Literary Award Prize, the Dublin City Librarian, Mayor and Owens, and all at Dublin City Library and Dublin UNESCO City of Literature. I also would like to thank the library that nominated my book, La BPI du Centre Pompidou in Paris, and of course, I would especially like to thank the judges. Because it takes a village to have a book published, let me make my litany of thank you a little bit longer. I want to thank my French editor, Alix Penant, who shared her wisdom and enthusiasm with me through the 2 years of my writing. Soisic Molcou and Florence Giry at Flammarion. Thank you as well to my editors at Picador. And of course, I want to thank Frank for his beautiful translation. A translation so fine that it makes me want to have written the book in English. His English, obviously, not mine. When I started writing The Art of Losing, I didn't know who would read this book. I was writing a story I had never read before, a story that I felt was missing, but the literary world seemed happy to have ignored for 60 years. So I could not imagine who the readership of this book could be. My then boyfriend told me with the gentlest voice he could, yeah, this book is really a niche thing. Finish it quickly and start a new one if you want to earn enough to pay the rent. And I agreed. Then, when the book was done, my publisher told me it would be really difficult to get it translated because it was such a French topic. And again, I agreed. Of course, I agreed. I had grown up thinking that interesting stories were stories that featured wild male heroes fighting in Napoleonic wars, desperate love stories, or tales of genius and twisted minds. I grew up thinking that these men, these characters, were universal, neutral subjects to write about, and anything aside from that was niche, an oddity. I grew up thinking, if you want to write about an African country, you write from the perspective of a white man. You go there, you kill an elephant, you kill a lion. You trek through the desert carrying your wounded guide on your back. You use the local names of these guides or assistants as exotic bits of language to give the reader some local color effect, but you never create a character for the people behind those names. And the world outside the books I was reading growing up was not really welcoming either. I was born in the 80s, a decade during which there were about 40 racist murders in France each year, meaning that every 9 days or so, someone, usually a young Arabic man, was killed by his neighbors, by building supervisors, by police officers, by the military. I was precisely born in 86, the year Malikou Sekine, a young man, French of Algerian parents, was beaten to death by police officers in the heart of Paris. The sort of people I wanted to write about, I had only ever encountered as casualties, as fatalities, as statistics in newspaper articles, never as characters with whom you might want to spend 500 pages. Moreover, Algeria in my life was not a country I felt I could write about. In fact, it was not a country at all. It was just one of the many names for the past. It was a whisper I could not comprehend. I was writing a book and I was thinking, I'm not sure what the book is about. It's not about a real country named Algeria. It's not about the War of Independence, or it is, but that is only 1/5 of the book. It's not about my family because I have chosen to write fiction. It's not that, it's not this, it's not. So I guess I was okay with writing a niche novel. At least it was a clear label. But I couldn't be happier that the years following the writing proved me wrong. And I find it a splendid and playful coincidence that The Art of Losing is getting this prize today in Dublin, because one might say that the ghost of this book, its very first blurry shape, appeared here in Ireland. I was visiting my friend Rob Doyle, and at some point I started to tell him my family's stories. I realized quickly that he didn't know much about the mountains of Kabylia, the Algerian War of Independence, the Harkeys, and so on. So I poured it all out, telling him everything at once like a storm of information. One day, you'll write a book about it, he said. And I don't know if he meant because this story needs to be told, or instead of assaulting random people with a story that's far too long. So if any Irish reader wonders why the movie Michael Collins is quoted in The Art of Losing, a book that is so not about Ireland, and it's not even a good movie, let's face it, this conversation was the reason, and I am really glad I came back to Dublin just to tell this anecdote. Thank you.
Jeev Adenusla, Dobwich, Jeev Goler, and that's the end of my Leaving Cert Irish. It's a privilege and an honour to be standing here, not simply for the award you've bestowed on Alice's magnificent novel, but because in a very real sense I owe my career as a literary translator to the Dublin Literary Award. But we'll talk about that later. I'd like to thank the Lord Mayor, the patron of the award, Alison Gilliland, Owen Keegan, Chief Executive of Dublin City Council, and Dublin City Council's sponsorship of the Dublin Literary Award. Marae Owens, Dublin City Librarian, and all at Dublin City Library and Dublin UNESCO City of Literature. I'd also like to thank the Bibliothèque Publique d'Information at the Pompidou Centre in Paris for nominating The Art of Losing. I'd especially like to thank the judges of the Dublin Literary Award. I've spent much of the past year as a judge on a different prize, and it will be my privilege to award it on Thursday, so I understand the great pleasure and the intense pain of being utterly immersed in me reading, of spending days and weeks in intimate communication with writers and translators from all over the world. I'd like to thank my editors at Picador, my great friend Ravi Merchandani, and especially Ansakan Katak, for their help and support, and my wonderful, wonderful copy editor, Rubina Pelham-Byrne. The work of editors in crafting a text is too often forgotten, but their insights and their queries are as crucial to the text as it emerges as that of author and writer. I first discovered a passion for languages and literature growing up in Sligo. I haunted the local library, and like many children, I was reading translations long before I knew what translations were. Fairy tales from Farsi, from German, from French, myths and legends from Irish, from Breton, from Sanskrit, Greek, Norse. My obsession with literature was fueled by my teachers at Sligo Grammar School, particularly the late, great Dick O'Byrne, who encouraged me. In my early teens, I would spend August days hanging around the Yeats International Summer School, which had been co-founded by my father, Frank Wynne, in 1959. And chatting with some of the great luminaries of Anglo-Irish literature, I had not the faintest idea who Richard Ellmann was, but he was a very nice man. I have to confess, I had no clear idea of what I wanted to do with any of these things. My wonderful mother would have said I was a jack of all trades, but she has always been unfailing in her support and her pride for what I do, and has, at least in the last 10 years, stopped telling me to get a proper job. So I left the country. I spent some years living in France. This further whetted my passion for language and literature, but it would never have occurred to me that I could be a literary translator. I had no idea what such rarefied beings were, but I fairly knew that I was not qualified to be one. So like many translators, my first efforts were done for my own pleasure, for the thrill of manipulating words, feeling the heft and weight of sentences, listening for the angular clatter or the subtle vibrations of rhythm. I was in my late 30s when I was first asked to translate a novel, and the fear and thrill of putting words on paper were exhilarating. I'd finally found what I wanted to do. Then, precisely 20 years ago, in 2002, as a 40-year-old novice in the world of literary translation, I was fortunate enough to be awarded the Dublin Literary Award for Atomised by Michel Houellebecq, and it was this that made it possible for me to give up the day job, and God knows there were enough of them, and to devote myself full-time to bringing literatures from other languages and other cultures into English. The prize gave me confidence and encouragement that have served me to this day. It's impossible to overstate the importance of translation. It is how peoples have communicated since the dawn of language, how they have passed down stories and histories, and these two are often intertwined. Literature and translation does much more than offer a picture postcard of a distant land. It opens a window onto other cultures, other histories, other worlds, and in doing so, it nurtures empathy and compassion. As the great George Steiner says in After Babel, without translation, we would inhabit parishes bordering on silence. I would very much like to thank Alice Zeniter for her dazzling novel, The Art of Losing, since it is precisely about language, culture, and belonging. If it specifically offers a view of Algeria from occupation through a bitter struggle for independence, and to the exiles shorn of their language and their heritage because they were deemed to be on the wrong side of history, it is a universal story that speaks to many places, not least to Ireland itself. My father has a little in common with her grandfather, Ali. He was born in 1901. He lived through the Rising, through the Civil War, through the emergency, through the founding of the Republic. These are stories I never got to talk to him about. He was a printer, not a farmer. But while I was translating Ali, I thought a lot of him. What I most cherish about the Dublin Literary Award is that it welcomes all novels in English, whether that English was written by the author or by a translator. It does not assume world literature is some rarefied taste, but recognises that all literatures are endlessly entwined, that Lawrence Stern takes his cue from Cervantes, Tolstoy from Flaubert, Proust from George Eliot, that writers, like readers, are shaped and moulded by what they read. In a world where too many people and too many nations seem to be retreating into a narrow nationalism, this award looks outward, embracing the other, seeking the shared humanity in the glittering mosaic of stories that come to us from around the world. And for that, and for all involved in it, I am very grateful.
And there you have it, The Art of Losing, this year's Dublin Literary Award winning title. Congratulations once again. Be sure to get a copy in your favorite bookstore or local library and enjoy this compelling novel. Thank you to everyone who joined us here in person and online, and we hope to see you this evening at 6 p.m. back here in Merrion Square Park or online for a conversation with Alice and Frank, hosted by Trinity College Dublin Chair of French, Michael Cronin. Please feel free to join us now for music and refreshments, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon here at the International Literature Festival Dublin. Thank you. I've been your host, Feli Speaks. Have a great day.